I realized something in my life had gone sideways the moment I caught myself apologizing for asking a simple question in my own home. Not shouting, not arguing, just asking. And the way my coworker Mason looked at me afterward, half confused, half concerned, made the truth hit like a punch to the gut. Somewhere along the line, I'd started expecting disrespect as the default. I'm a 29-year-old IT support tech. Pretty average life. Small apartment in Phoenix, steady job, weekend basketball with friends, leftovers in the fridge more often than not. Nothing glamorous, nothing dramatic. I liked routine. Routine made sense. But for the past year, my roommate Tyler had quietly chipped away at every piece of stability I relied on. When we first moved in together, things were fine. He was a coworker of a coworker who needed a place fast, and I had an extra bedroom. He seemed easygoing enough. Paid on time, cleaned, mostly. And he talked a lot, but I didn't think much of it. Everyone has quirks. The first signs were tiny, almost invisible. A comment here, a smirk there. Stuff you brush off because it feels too petty to call out. Like the way he'd jokingly correct me on things I clearly knew. Or how he'd invite people over and introduce me as the quiet one who doesn't get out much. Or interrupt me mid-sentence like my words were optional noise. I laughed it off at first. You don't want to be the uptight roommate who can't take a joke. But the jokes kept coming, and they stopped being jokes. I'd come home from work and find my food borrowed because, dude, I thought you weren't going to eat that. Or my tools missing because, relax, I'll put them back eventually. Or friends of his sitting on my couch talking trash about me like I wasn't supposed to walk through the door. Every time I spoke up, he acted like I was overreacting. Man, you're so sensitive. It's not that deep. You gotta chill. That's the part that got to me. The casual dismissal. The way he made me feel small for caring about basic respect. And slowly, without noticing, I adjusted. I lowered my expectations. I kept conversations short. I let things slide because dealing with him felt exhausting. But disrespect grows. It doesn't stay at the same level. The turning point began with something stupid. A package. I ordered a new headset for work. Nothing fancy, but something I'd saved for because gaming and music were my main ways to unwind. The delivery photo showed it sitting at our door around noon. I got home at 6. No package. Tyler shrugged when I asked, said he hadn't seen anything. Said it with that tone, the one that carried more attitude than words. Later that night, I found the box in his room, not even hidden, just sitting there like it belonged to him. Inside, he'd already opened it, used it, and tossed the manual onto the floor. When I confronted him, he didn't apologize. He didn't even look embarrassed. He just said, "Dude, you weren't home. I needed it. Chill." No remorse, no respect, nothing. Something tightened in my chest that I hadn't felt in a long time. Not anger exactly, but clarity. A kind of quiet, uncomfortable truth. He didn't see me as an equal. He didn't even see me as someone he needed to respect. That night, lying in bed staring at the ceiling fan, I replayed every incident, every comment, every joke, every tiny violation I'd brushed aside. And for the first time, I didn't excuse it. I didn't justify it. I didn't tell myself to let it go. I realized this wasn't harmless. It wasn't normal. And it definitely wasn't just a personality clash. It was a pattern, a deliberate one. And the more I thought about it, the more a single, steady thought formed behind all the noise he'd put in my head. I'm done letting him treat me like this. By the next morning, I knew something had to change. I just didn't know yet how far it would go, or how quietly satisfying the end would be. Things didn't blow up overnight. Disrespect rarely does. It creeps, collects, and stacks itself neatly until one day the whole pile collapses under its own weight. After the headset incident, I tried giving Tyler the benefit of the doubt. One last shot. I told him calmly that using my stuff without asking wasn't okay. I told him I needed boundaries, not in a dramatic way. Just two adults having a basic conversation. He smirked the whole time, not a guilty smirk, not an embarrassed smirk, a mocking one. "Dude, you're making this a whole thing," he said, shaking his head like I was a toddler refusing to eat broccoli. "It's just stuff. You're so uptight." That should have been the breaking point, but it wasn't. Not yet. The days that followed were quiet on the surface, but the disrespect got sharper, more intentional. He started borrowing my things even more, using my kitchen gear, leaving it dirty, claiming he forgot, taking my parking spot by accident, even though we'd assigned them on day one. Little things that didn't scream injustice but whispered that I didn't matter. The worst part wasn't what he did, it was how he acted after. Every time he messed up, he twisted it so I looked dramatic. If I asked about my missing charger, wow, paranoid much. If I mentioned he was late on utilities, bro, why are you so controlling? If I asked him not to have friends over at midnight on a work night, man, you're such a buzzkill. He had a talent for making disrespect look reasonable and my reactions look ridiculous. It wore me down. I became quieter at home, spent more time in my room, stopped inviting friends over because he'd make fun of them behind their backs or to their faces. Even my sister stopped visiting after he made some comment about her intense energy, which was just him being rude. But the real breaking point, the moment the switch flipped, happened on a random Tuesday. I came home early after a power outage shut down the office, opened the door, and there he was, on the couch with two of his friends, playing games on my PC. My personal PC, the one I built myself, the one with my saved files, work documents, and private logins. He'd moved it out of my room, set it up in the living room, and told his friends, yeah, it's basically mine. He never uses it anyway. My stomach dropped. My hands actually shook. I told him to get off my computer. He rolled his eyes. Relax. We're being careful. That sentence broke something in me. I didn't yell, didn't throw anything, didn't grab him by the collar like part of me wanted to. I just unplugged the PC, took it back to my room, and shut the door while his friends laughed. Inside, something settled. Not rage, clarity. Cold, simple clarity. Because in that moment I realized Tyler would never respect me. Not with talking, not with compromise, not with patience. He didn't understand normal boundaries, but he did understand losses, consequences, embarrassment, and most importantly, documentation. That night I started gathering everything: photos, screenshots, messages where he admitted to borrowing things, dates of late payments, videos of him going through my stuff, logs of property damage, anything that showed a pattern, not just random roommate issues, but willful disrespect and misuse. I wasn't sure yet what I'd do with it, but collecting it felt like reclaiming control piece by piece. 2 days later, Tyler crossed the line one more time. One final shove in a long chain of shoves. I got home to find my bedroom door unlocked. I always locked it before leaving. Inside, my dresser drawers had been rummaged through. Not trashed, just searched. Like he was looking for something. Like my room was his storage closet. And on my desk, bold as daylight, sat a post-it note in his handwriting. Next time, put stuff where it's easy to find. No explanation. No apology. Just that sentence. I stood there staring at it and felt something in my chest go quiet. Completely quiet. Because that was it. The moment. The line that doesn't get crossed. I wasn't just done tolerating him. I was done letting him exist in my space without consequences. And for the first time since he'd moved in, I smiled. A small, controlled smile. Because now I knew exactly what to do. The thing about people like Tyler is, they don't think anyone will ever push back. They assume the polite ones stay polite forever. They assume the quiet ones stay quiet forever. They assume the patient ones don't eventually run out of patience. He assumed wrong. The night after I found that post-it, I sat at my desk and mapped everything out. Not a fantasy revenge, not movie nonsense. Something clean, controlled, and entirely rooted in the real world. Step one was simple: secure everything I owned. I installed a lock on my bedroom door, an actual deadbolt, the kind that needs a key. I bought a second lock for my closet and mounted a small safe inside. I brought my PC components to my office one bag at a time and reassembled it there. Anything he'd touched, borrowed, or rummaged through went behind a lock he didn't have access to. Predictably, he complained, "Dude, what's with all the Fort Knox crap? You know you look insane, right? You don't trust me now?" I didn't argue. Arguing had never changed a thing. I just kept tightening the circle. Then came the preparation. I gathered everything I documented: rent messages, late bills, the video of him moving my PC, photos of my open mail, timestamps of missing items, the casual texts where he admitted borrowing things without asking. Individually, they looked petty. Collectively, they painted a clear pattern of boundary violations, property misuse, and dishonest behavior. But the most important prep wasn't about evidence. It was about timing. I waited until rent time, his favorite era of excuses. And right on schedule, he handed me his portion 3 days late, blaming bank issues, even though his Instagram story showed him out drinking the night before. That's when I initiated step 2, the lease maneuver. We'd both signed the lease, but I was listed as the primary tenant. He was an approved occupant. That meant I had certain rights, specifically the right to request his removal if I could show valid cause in a pattern of documented issues. And I had documentation, months of it. I scheduled a meeting with the property manager for the next afternoon. Didn't tell Tyler, didn't hint, didn't even act different. In the meeting, I laid everything out. Calm, professional, thorough. I wasn't there to rant. I was there to demonstrate. Misuse of property? Check. Unauthorized entry into my room? Check. Unapproved guests at all hours? Check. Repeated failure to follow lease expectations? Check. Safety concerns regarding my personal belongings? Check 5 times over. The property manager listened, eyebrows gradually rising. When I finished, she exhaled like she'd been holding her breath. "This is more than enough," she said. "We can issue him a 30-day notice to vacate. Legally sound." I nodded. "I'd like that." She drafted it immediately. That was step 3, letting the consequence come from someone with authority, not from me. Tyler couldn't spin it into me being dramatic if the message came stamped, dated, and legally backed. When I got home, he was sprawled on the couch, scrolling on his phone, shoes on my coffee table. I walked past him without reacting. The notice would come tomorrow morning, but the universe sometimes works faster than expected. He followed me down the hallway, annoyed by my silence. "You got a problem or something? You've been acting weird." I turned to him, calm. "I'm just busy," he scoffed. "Whatever, man. Seriously, you need to chill." That word, chill, almost made me laugh. The next morning, right at 9 a.m., the property manager delivered the notice to our front door. Big legal format, bold heading, official seal. I heard Tyler rip it off the door. He read it quietly at first, then louder. Then again, like the words might change if he squinted hard enough. He stormed into my room. Well, tried to. The deadbolt stopped him cold. "Bro, what is this?" he yelled through the door. I opened it just enough to look at him. He was pale, rattled in a way I had never seen. "It's a notice to vacate," I said calmly. "You have 30 days. "For what? This is insane. You can't just—" "I didn't," I cut in. "The property manager did, all based on documented behavior." The confusion on his face was almost quieting, like he finally realized I wasn't playing his game. "You documented me?" he asked, voice small for the first time. "For months." He opened his mouth, closed it, then shook his head as if trying to reboot himself. "This is messed up, dude." "No," I said. "What you've been doing is messed up. This is a consequence." He didn't respond. Not a word. He just backed away from my door and shut himself in his room. For the first time since he'd moved in, the apartment felt still. Not peaceful yet, but still. The kind of stillness right before everything shifts. The shift didn't happen in a dramatic explosion. There was no shouting match, no last stand speech, no apologies he didn't mean. The shift came quietly, through the small, telling ways Tyler reacted once he realized the situation wasn't reversible. For the first 2 days, he avoided me entirely. No stomping around, no snide comments. He walked softly, like the apartment suddenly belonged to someone else. For once, it actually did. His friends stopped coming over. My things stayed exactly where I left them. He even cleaned the kitchen. Badly, but still, it was a first. That awkward stillness didn't make me feel guilty. It made me feel normal. Like the air had cleared after a long stretch of humidity you didn't realize you were living in. But the real consequences began when he tried to fight the notice. On day 3, he marched to the leasing office. I knew he would. Guys like him always assume charm or indignation will fix everything. He argued loudly, loud enough that the assistant manager texted me, "He's here." He showed up very angry. They showed him the file I'd provided, the timestamps, the photos, the video clips, the messages, the lease clauses he'd broken, every line, every detail organized and dated. When he got back home that afternoon, he didn't slam the door. He set it down carefully, almost respectfully. He didn't speak to me that night. Not a word. By the 1-week mark, the anger had faded into something else. Embarrassment. He moved quieter. He packed slowly. He kept his head down. The confidence he'd worn like armor was gone, replaced by the quiet discomfort of someone who'd finally been forced to see himself clearly. I didn't rub it in. I didn't lecture him. I didn't gloat. Revenge doesn't need an audience when it's done right. But on moving day, he knocked on my door. First time he'd knocked on anything in the apartment. I opened it. He looked tired. Not sad, just tired in a way that suggested the weight wasn't from packing boxes. "I'm heading out," he said, staring at the floor. "Look, I'm not going to pretend we were like best friends or anything, but I didn't think it was that serious." "It was," I said simply. He nodded. His eyes flicked toward mine, just briefly. "Yeah," he said. "I get that now." It wasn't an apology, not really, but it was the closest he'd ever get. And honestly, I didn't need more. He left without another word. When the door clicked shut behind him, the apartment felt different, bigger, brighter, like the walls themselves were relieved. That night I cooked dinner and ate at the kitchen table for the first time in months. No noise, no side comments, no tension buzzing under the surface, just quiet, the good kind. Over the next week, I moved my things back into the common space. My tools, my cookware, my speakers, all the things I'd locked away because living there felt like sharing space with a storm. I didn't rush to get a new roommate. I learned something through all of this. Disrespect rarely starts loud. It starts with small cuts, tiny openings, moments when you choose peace over boundaries because you think it doesn't matter. But it does, it always does. And if you don't enforce your worth, someone else will decide it for you. These days, I trust my instincts more. I don't brush off signals. I keep my space, my peace, and my boundaries protected. Not because I'm paranoid, but because I finally understand their value. The revenge wasn't the eviction. It wasn't the documentation. It wasn't even the look on his face when he read the notice. The real revenge was reclaiming my life from someone who thought my respect was optional. And the moral is simple. If someone shows you they don't value your boundaries, show them the consequences of crossing them. Quietly, clearly, and without apology.